Truth can no longer be denied, and it's something that needs to be pursued.
Jingle bell.
Hello, Taurus. Welcome to your December 2019 reading. I am Princess India. If you're new, if you're a family, welcome back, my friend. I'm here for the 99 and the 2000 and whatnot or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just saying. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into your cards, my wonderful fellow Taurian peoples and whatnot or whatever. So we're going to ask Spirit to give us clear and direct guidance for Taurus, anything that they need to know, anything of most importance. I totally said utmost wrong. Please let that come to the forefront in this here reading. Please, Spirit, anything that will assist Taurus in their development, their healing, and their growth for this month. And as always, I thank you in advance, Spirit, because I know you're good for it and whatnot or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what is going on with my Taurians for the month of December. Our central energy for December is, oh, good Lord, okay, and I'm dropping stuff. Taurus. It was in reverse. It's the Hierophant in the reverse. So it's the solution to any issues that Taurians are facing this month is going to be found in a very non-traditional approach. So it's stepping outside of I can't talk. I really can't blame Mercury retrograde. Your traditional dealings or happenings or perspectives that you have on things this month. This is challenged by the Ten of Cups in the reverse. So anything in the sense of whether it's emotional disappointment, things not panning out the way that you desired them to, or deciding, and this is on a really, really revolutionary level, is deciding to disengage from the illusion thereof of happiness, or finding your way out from under the illusion of said happiness, right? And instead inspiring towards something that's going to bring you true fulfillment, even in the event that it doesn't align with what other people find to be traditional happiness. So say hypothetically, everybody that you know thinks that having a 15, bedroom mansion is the ideal life, and you think living in a van, I don't know why the van is the example for this month, but whatever. You feel like living in a van is like fulfillment for you, then you're going to pursue that even though it's very non-traditional. Okay, my hair is doing crazy stuff in the back. Okay, we're not going to pay attention to that. Anyway, underlying influence. We have the Nine of Swords in the reverse. What I'm feeling with this is there's unrest within, which is bringing me back to you guys' seed of discord from last month. I feel that this is so much, or more or less, the realization or the revelation of the seed of discord that came up for you guys in November, right? And I feel it's more or less of you guys seeing the truth of a situation or discovering your own personal truth and electing to leave behind any mental bondage or confusion, or coming into the realization that the only way that you guys were really trapped was based on, your perception or self-imposed glass ceiling, self-sabotage, or aligning with values that were not supportive of your desires, in so many words. So that's really, really positive. So I feel that the greatest challenge, so to speak, for you guys has been breaking away from tradition, whether that be internally or externally, right? Expectations of others, hence the contortionist last month. So anywho, our past influence. Oh wow, her boobs are out. That's fascinating. We have the Princess Wands. That's very fascinating. Okay, well, what I will say about that, even though it is in the reverse, is more or less in the past, I feel there's a level of shame that's aligned with you guys being true to yourself or your desires. So the thing it is that you guys aspired to, or what it is that you've been deflecting, it's more or less, and this is very much the energy we talked about last month, it's you guys sacrificing your truth for the benefit of someone else's, right? Because I feel you guys' truth, what inspires you or titillates your fancy, so to speak, is very, I want to say, and I'm not saying this for everyone, but the first word that came to my mind was eccentric, but it's just very different than the norm, right? So how I'm more or less seeing this is I guess my traditional reaction to, this card, God, with the whole kid stuff, I hope that does not get me blocked. But anyway, like my reaction to the card, like, oh, wow, her boobs are out. You know what I mean? Not saying that you guys are trying to walk around with your boobs out. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and Solstice, and all this other kind of stuff. Happy holidays. Feliz Navidad. Moving forward. So, like, my first reaction to it, what I feel past tense for Taurians that got you guys into this place in the first place and gives us the solution for the seed of discord that you guys experienced this month, and a lot like what I said in the recap, is it's a realization that the war was never with you and other people. It was within yourself. So it was being a war that was raging between your truth and that of others. But I feel even deeper than that. The reason why you guys had an aversion to your own truth is because there was some level of shame or rejection that happened past tense when you guys revealed it, stepped in it, spoke on it, or whatever to other people. So the thought was, I need to disassociate from this, I need to suppress it, and I need to hide it because that's not good, or that's bad, or that's undesirable, right? But I feel you guys have come to a point in your evolution now where this truth can no longer be denied, and it's something that needs to be pursued, because I feel that the lack thereof of success or progress in you guys' life is intricately related to the fact that you guys aren't coming from a place of personal authenticity. So it's more or less the life that you've built, or the things that you have pursued up to this point or are pursuing, are very much aligned in service to another person's truth as opposed to yours. So any of the unrest or discord or nightmares or what have you that you guys have experienced up to this point was more or less like your subconscious mind or your soul trying to say, hey, red alert, there's a problem here. We need to reevaluate. You know what I'm saying? So anywho, your above energy, we have the 8 of Cups. I love how these cards look. Oh, this is interesting. Very much so. There has to be a shift. There has to be a shift in you all's perspective. And I'm saying a shift in perspective because I'm trying to say 3 different things at one time. There has to be a shift in perspective because I feel in December, the biggest transition or the hardest thing for you guys to disengage from, which is difficult for all Taurians, is when you have your mind set on something, right? If your mind is set on a specific expectation or an outcome or, some big picture vision or goal that you guys were putting time, energy, and effort into, I think it's the fear of relinquishing like that end goal because it puts everything into question, right? But it's funny that this reminds me of Sagittarius, which is so funny because I feel that you guys are so fixated on what it is that you're going to lose in this fear of either people's reactions or the unknown, not knowing how things are going to pan out from here. But the thing that's important to note is you see that little door there? And that makes me think of my vision with Sagittarius, how homegirl was just like walking and it was just like, let me try this door, and it was open. I don't know if you watched that video. You can, from last month. But I feel that right before, I'm not even going to say right before. It's more or less before any fears that you guys are kind of mulling over that may be in your mind right now. Like the fear of leaving everything that you've built up to this point for something else. It's almost as if a completely new path is going to present itself to you. You know what I mean? So it's like any of the things that y'all are afraid of about the future or stepping away from this and going in the position of what it is that's really fulfilling to you. And I said this, like, I've been saying this for a couple of months with y'all. It's more or less, I think that was in October when I was saying something about like spirit is trying to help you out. You know what I mean? And it's like you guys are trying to figure everything out on your own. But the key is that spirit is actually trying to give you a shortcut and shorten the journey. But it's just a need to shift perspective. And the perspective that I feel that needs to be shifted, or the truth that one needs to accept, is simply that even though this path or thing may offer a sense of stability or security, it's the fact that it's devoid of emotional fulfillment. It's like you've put a lot into it, but you've gotten absolutely nothing out of it. So when we're really kind of mulling over this, it's kind of like, what's the point? You know what I mean? It's like you have stuff, you have things, you have, vessels or containers. I don't know why I'm saying that like that, but whatever. You have vessels and you have containers, but they're empty and devoid of any sense of passion or fulfillment. So what's really the significance of it anyway? You know what I mean? It's kind of like holding on to a Keurig that doesn't work anymore. You know what I'm saying? And you tried to clean out, with a little calcium cleaner, and that still didn't work. You tried plugging it into another outlet and it still doesn't work, but you want to hold on to it because it's a Keurig and you spend some money on it, but it's not serving you. So it's taking up space and it's not giving you anything back in return. You know what I mean? For others of you, I feel that it's more or less a need to look at a current situation from a different perspective, or a different perspective, or to implement a new approach, right? So if it's not something that you're necessarily walking away from, it's utilizing a different methodology with this particular thing, or a different approach, so to speak. And this, it could come in the form of an idea, but this approach to it may be very non-traditional. It may be a very innovative approach. And that's kind of, to me, in a sense of like restoration, because I feel, and I mean, that could be like at work. It could be literally time management and productivity. You know what I mean? The fact that you do your paperwork at the beginning of the day and decide to do your phone calls at the end of the day is making your job very stifling. But switching it to where you're doing your phone calls at the top of the day and your paperwork at the end of the day may be more sufficient. Is that the word? Yeah. It would be more sufficient. So that may not be the ideal way that most other people approach, the work that needs to be done. And I'm not saying this literally, I'm saying it hypothetically, but just kind of switching things around and approaching things in a way that may seem counterintuitive, counterproductive to other people. Because it's like, who wants to do paperwork at the end of the day? And it's like, well, I never get, anyone on the phone because I make phone calls at the end of the day. And people usually don't want to talk on the phone. But if I caught them early in the morning, I'd be more productive. And then since that's out of the way, I can focus more on paperwork at the end of the day. I'm saying that hypothetically. But it could be just a new approach if it's not something that you're completely walking away from. It's just walking away from an old approach, if that's making sense. Oh, that's so wonderful. And going forward, we have the World card. So it's a complete, and I do kind of feel that, like how I was saying with some of you, and then we see that energy with the 8 of Cups as well, where we talk about walking away with the 8 of Cups, but sometimes it's a need, another way we could look at the 8 of Cups, is it's us walking away from something to have new experiences or to have a new enlightenment or to gain a new perspective, or separating ourselves from something so that we can be refreshed. So if you think about going on vacation, you know what I mean? It's just the fact that we can feel very, bored with our town or, bored with our job. And us taking some time apart actually restores our gratitude or our thankfulness for it. You know what I mean? And this makes me think about, like in my personal life, it's kind of like, I love electricity, and internet. And these aren't usually things that I think to be grateful for on a regular basis. But during storm season in New Orleans, and there's crazy rainstorms outside and the lights go out, that is the moment that I realize how important these things are to my progress. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like needing to reinvigorate one's gratitude or thankfulness for things in your life. And it's more or less spending time apart from it or having a break or a distance from it. And that could be with family, friends, people, whatever, for you guys to have a renewed fervor for that specific thing. But all in all, moving forward, all of these things collected, by the end of December, I really feel for you guys this is going to culminate somewhere between the middle of December. I feel that you guys are going to have a new perspective and appreciation for people, things, situations, and circumstances in your life, whether that's you guys leaving things behind or incorporating a new approach. But I feel that the most important thing to take away from all of this is that the approach is non-traditional, disengaging from things that are in service to other people as opposed to yourself, and to be very clear on where your fulfillment lies, whether that's where you are in a new approach or it's somewhere else entirely. But either way it goes, things are going to culminate great for you guys. You know what I mean? I feel like y'all are going into a new cycle, and you're going to be looking back at this year, not just this month, but as this year is a very transformative year. So I kind of see December wrapping up for Taurians as almost like feeling very proud of yourself and everything kind of coming into perspective and understanding like, wow, that's why I went through all of that. All of these experiences were very much necessary. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to go ahead and do our dice, and then I'm going to pull a oracle from the surrender deck for you guys, because I'm calling this surrender. Wait, what was I about to say? September. That has some relevance. I've been having a whole bunch of Freudian slips this month. Surrender December, or December surrender. I haven't decided which one's going to go first, but we're going to look at what it is that you guys would want to release in the month of December that's going to behoove you by the end of this month and going into next year. But before I do that, we're going to go ahead and pick the 3 cards for the extended reading. That translates into our 3 groups. So if you guys are about that extended life, go ahead and pick card 1, 2, or 3. If not, you don't have to, or you can still pick one anyway. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to use these as our overall energy for our 3 groups over on Vimeo. So if you picked card number 1, we have compromise. Fascinating. You're group 1. If you pick card number 2, you're group 2, and the card is trust. Thinking about Incubus Trust Fall, really great song. You should listen to it. I love Incubus. They're my favorite band in America. Moving right along, if you pick card number 3, we have guilt. My goodness. You are group 3. We are going to get into these over on Vimeo. So let me sit these to the side, my friend. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and pick you guys surrender cards. Spirit, what is it that Taurus needs to surrender in the month of December for their highest good and whatnot or whatever? What does Taurus need to surrender? Whoa. 2 cards. Come here, dagnabbit, son of a gun. There we go. All right, first card, Taurus, surrender to non-action. It says, now is the time to be still and not act. Simply breathe and focus on your own power. Let others come to you. Next, surrender the drama. No matter how emotionally charged the situation, remain calm and don't contribute to the drama. Staying centered will help resolve the issue more quickly. That is so important. So what this is talking about, guys, is rooting, anchoring, and grounding yourself in your power. If you're clear on yourself, your desires, your goals, or your path moving forward, it's not so much in December being in a spirit of haste. And even going into 2020, it's not about being in a spirit of haste, but it's understanding the Buddhist principle of non-action, that of which is doing nothing and accomplishing everything. And how that's achieved is through magnetism, right? The more that we vibrate at our authentic frequency, the more that we find that our thoughts align with that frequency and our external world aligns with that frequency. And it's not giving our energy to dead things like drama. You know what I mean? Because these are things that inadvertently suck us dry, that take residence in our mental space, you know what I mean? And drain us of viable life force energy. Or trying to fight and convince other people of our truth. You know what I mean? The most important thing is to not look for validation or acceptance in other people, but it's to rest in your truth, sit in your truth, be grounded in your truth, and live that out. The people who are intended to be in your life will gravitate to you, and those who aren't supposed to will go away. You know what I'm saying? So you can go ahead and ask a yes or no question if you like. I'm going to throw the dice of resonance, yeah. Oh, interesting. The answer to your question is yes. In a few months, we have Sun, we have Crush, we have Capricorn, and we have Taurus. So yes, in a few months, Crush, Sun, Capricorn, and Taurus. Where are the dice that have no name? There it is. We have the number 12, we have Sun again, and we have Libra. That's interesting. Sun came up twice for you guys. That's fascinating. There's some importance there for that to come out twice. For Sun, we have Father, masculine principle, the Hermetic principle, the law of polarity, your infinite self-mastery. Start working on strengthening the weak points of your sun sign. So if we look at, that's funny, that's hilarious. If we think about the weak points of Taurus, right? It's us being, kind of stubborn, standing ground for things even though they no longer serve us, having issues with letting go and moving forward. And you can Google all of the stuff that is, not so positive about the sign of Taurus. You know what I'm saying? But the important thing is, and this is a technique we use in personal development, is we look at our weaknesses and we start doing the work to strengthen those weaknesses. So if we have issues with letting go, we start allowing ourselves to relinquish control in such situations and accepting things as they are and practicing that over time until we get comfortable. When it comes to drama, right? If we find people coming to us to, gossip, and you have a tendency to hear gossip about other people, about exes, or, hearing, negative things that other people have said about us, and you find that you have a tendency to ruminate on that, that's something that's taking up your thought space. It's not serving you and it's sucking your energy dry, right? So and it's not even just your sun sign specifically. It's looking at those things that are your weak points, those things that are your triggers, the things that, that may be addictions or that you find yourself habitually falling into. It's making the decision this month to identify those things, to list those things, and start doing practical, tangible actions in the direction of strengthening these weaknesses or creating boundaries or blockades to those weak points in your life, right? So and then balance. And another thing I'm being told with this whole Libra energy is understanding that every choice that we make always has a consequence, whether for good or for bad. So if there are, negative consequences for certain decisions that we're making, you want to be prepared for those consequences, right? So it's more or less like if you make the decision to do something without thinking or being, impulsive, it's understand that there's consequences for impulsivity, right? But not to self-victimize or feel as if one is being attacked because of, less than stellar decisions one has made or is making. But, and another thing is patience, I know another Taurus characteristic is with us, it's leaving a Taurian in suspense. And how sometimes if we're in suspense of something, we will kind of China shop it out, wig out, and it's just screw everything. It's option 1 or option 2, Taurus. It's I don't know. So it's we're either going to say screw option 1 and 2, or we're going to be give me both. You know what I mean? So it's kind of finding a balance between those two and finding a sense of peace and less anxiety in not knowing and having the patience to wait until things are revealed to you or things come in due time, if that makes sense. And number 12, your major arcana for the month is the Empress as well as the Hanged Man. So we're talking about creating peace, order, and structure from chaos. And literally with the Hanged Man, we're talking about surrender. You know what I'm saying? It's when a situation is as it is, or we find that we're trapped, it's not, wigging out, or freaking out or China shopping to try to get one's way, or running away from that energy of suspension. It's finding peace in the not knowing and finding peace in that suspended state, right? And it says, divine timing. Are you happy with what you've created? Spiritual lessons, blocks, and ending cycles. Time for inner work to identify lessons of this cycle via repeating patterns. That's another thing that's extremely important. If you guys find yourself constantly ending in the same place that you began, it's time to really take a look back and seeing what is habitually or consistently happening over and over and over again. What cycles do you find yourself consistently repeating? And it's more or less using December to be a month where you put some time, energy, and effort in, even if it means stepping away from things, people, situations, circumstances, to see what in your life is no longer serving you. What things do you keep trying? Like, where are you beating a dead horse? Garnering the lesson from that and moving forward. But I feel like the key thing to note here is what causes you a sense of unrest, and to not just put it on external things, but seeing what and why within you is feeling, unrest, and using your truth as a schematic for what it is that you allow and don't allow in your life, in so many words. So anywho, Taurus, that has been your reading. I'm going over to Vimeo for your extended. So if you're about that life, follow me over there. If not, still love your freaking face. I'm going to see you guys sooner than later. One, people, the thing I feel that's of utmost importance for you all, but how I'm seeing it is more or less like an as above, so below energy, in accordance with you guys' last card over on YouTube, which was the World card. So it's more or less an integration, embracing the truth of your self-mastery, or the mastery of this particular cycle that's closing and the new cycle that's beginning for you all. Now for my group 2 people, I feel for you guys there's a need to take a chance. So I feel for you guys, there's a level of stagnation with my group 2 people, but that's intricately related to fear. So in order for you guys to get to the next level of what it is that you're desiring. So for my group 3 people, so we're talking about being trapped in a mental prison. And I feel it with y'all, it has a lot to do with my group 3 people of blaming yourself for things that aren't your fault. It's taking a great deal of responsibility for things that have absolutely nothing to do with you. Oh God, this is a disaster.